Hello everyone and welcome back to another deck guide, this time featuring the newly supported Assault Mode archetype as well as a perennial favorite of mine, the Centurions. This is very much like a Synchro Slot pile focused on levels 8 and 12, but thanks to the Assault Mode stuff we can access a couple of weird levels here and there as well. But the game plan is fairly linear and creates just like a crazy, unbreakable 3 to 4 Omni Negate end board at the cost of playing quite a few bricks and even hard garnets nowadays. But if, just making an unbreakable end board with Synchro Slop sounds fun to you, then let's get started. So first up, we're going to go over the Assault Mode. This is the deck that you're less likely to know what it does, and it's also the most recently supported one. If you are actually a subscriber of mine, you may recognize that I did an Assault Mode Dexploration not that long ago, and I was not a big fan of the archetype. But I figured I would give it one more chance, and I would try to build a deck that shores up some of the archetype's weaknesses, namely the fact that it has no extension to its name. The only thing you can use in this deck for extension is like E-Telly, and we can't play that in Genesys because it's absurdly expensive for no good reason. So instead, I tried to add extension through the Centurion engine, so we'll see how that goes this week. But as for what the engine itself does, we first have to talk about our trap, Assault Mode Activate. This is the most important card in the archetype. It's just like the whole thing is built around it. So this is a normal trap that requires you tribute a Synchro monster to summon that Synchro monster's Assault Mode monster from your deck. So for example, we have Stardust Dragon Assault Mode, we tribute original Stardust Dragon from the field, go get the Stardust Dragon Assault Mode, slap it on board, and now we have new and improved Stardust Dragon. That's the whole gimmick here. So keep that in mind as we go. So then we're going to go back and talk about Crimson Blader Assault Mode. So this is one of our newer cards, and it represents basically the Assault Mode package in general. So you cannot normal summon any of the Assault Mode monsters. You cannot special summon them except by Assault Mode Activate. Keep that in mind. And then each of them has their own effects, obviously, but they also, if destroyed, you can summon out the Synchro version from your grave, so it kind of helps you layer your end board where, like, if I put Crimson Blader Assault Mode on board, it gets destroyed, I still get OG Crimson Blader on board, which is pretty cool. For individual effects, Crimson Blader says that if it's on field, your opponent cannot activate the effects of level 5 or higher monster special summon from the extra deck. Sometimes that wins you the game on the spot, sometimes it's completely irrelevant, like against an Xyz deck. So you're not always making him as part of your end board, but he's a good option to have. And then specifically for this guy, he's also a Rhoda. You can reveal it in hand, add an Assault Mode Activator, a card that mentions it from deck to hand, and shuffle this back into the deck. So we play this guy at 3 because it is actually a starter. It searches you your starters. Next up, another starter is Psyreflector. Psyreflector is a level 1 Psychic Tuner that on normal or special summon lets you add any Assault Mode Activate card from deck to hand. This deck has a ton of search power. It's just kind of frustrating that we don't have extension to use with the search power. You'll see as we go. And then also this guy can reveal Assault Mode Activate in hand to target a monster in your grave, special summon it, and modulate its level by 1 to 4. Most of the time you're summoning back a 4. That means that you have to increase it by at least 1, so 5, plus the Psyreflector is a 1. That gets you a Synchro 6, or you can increase it by up to 4, which would make the thing you're summoning back an 8, plus the Psyreflector is a 9. So this gets you just any Synchro between 6 and 9 on its own, which is really cool. We're playing 2 because it is a starter, but it is a normal summon starter. In fact, every Assault Mode starter is a normal summon outside of E-Telly, which we can't play because for some reason it's ridiculously costed in Genesys. We have 22 one-card starters in this deck. 13 of those require our normal summon. That's why we're not maxing out on everything that is a starter, we're maxing out on the most flexible ones. That's the whole idea behind this deck, is that while the Assault Mode stuff is incredibly rigid and requires a normal summon and folds to any interaction at any point in the combo, we can play 9 cards that act as not normal summon starters / extenders through the Centurion package. So we would rather play those at maximum while playing these at a fairly minimum amount. We just play 2 Psi Reflectors because you don't want to have it and our next card in hand, and then you can't summon one from deck, and that kind of sucks. It's also just like good to have names in deck for follow-up, so we have the 2. Our next card is Assault Sentinel, which is quite simple. You normal summon this, then you tribute it, and summon a different monster that mentions Assault Mode Activate from deck, but it synchro locks you. Doesn't really matter when we're playing 15 synchros as our extra deck, but you like normally are going to go get Psi Reflector off of this, and you have to have a Psi Reflector in deck for that to actually work. And then this guy also lets you target one of your monsters and change its type and attribute for a synchro summon that requires a specific type or attribute. We're not really using that effect here, but you can use it with like Rose Dragons to do some interesting things. Next up is Assault Beast, which is very simple. You need one of this card to make the Psi Reflector line work, which basically means you need one to make the whole deck work. You can discard this to just go get the trap from deck, no frills, no questions asked, which you need a copy of the trap in hand for Psi Reflector to actually do its summon from graveyard. So this guy's just necessary, basically, for that. One Assault Lich is a quote-unquote extender. This can be treated as a tuner or a non-tuner, and on summon, you can summon back a monster that mentions Assault Mode Activate from your grave, and then when you use this as material for a synchro summon, you can go get one of our traps, our archetypal traps, from deck to hand. The frustrating thing is that this card has no clause that says special summon it, which means that we only have one way to actually do that in archetype, and if that gets interrupted, then the whole combo's still interrupted even halfway through. Then we've got our other boss monster for the archetype, Stardust Dragon Assault Mode. So same thing, you can only summon this off of the trap, but for the trouble, if you get this onto board, you can tribute it to Omni Negate and destroy any card, and if you successfully tributed it and it wasn't negated, then on end phase it comes back. So similar to Stardust Dragon, but instead of only negating a destruction effect, this is just an Omni once per turn, every turn for the rest of the game. And then of course, if it's destroyed, you can just get back out original Stardust. This card is an absolute house, and it's not a hard once per turn, so we're playing 2. 1, because you can often make 2 as part of your end board, and 2, because this is a hard garnet. The Assault Mode Activate can only summon from deck, and because this one doesn't have an effect like the Crimson Blader to shuffle itself back in, if you see it, you can't summon it. This cannot come out of your hand. There's no way to make it work. There is one card in Archetype that really sucks that can put it back, but we're not playing that. You can play it if you want. I'm not doing so because it's a bad card. But if this is in your hand, you can't summon it. We're playing 2 because that means that if you see one, you can still summon one. You could play 3, but then you're always going to see one and it does nothing in hand. It's garbage. But it's a really strong boss monster for the trouble. Then we've got the new field spell, Dual Evolution Assault Zone. This card's really, really cracked. When it's activated, you can add a monster that mentions Assault Mode Activate from deck or grave to hand. Great, that makes it a starter, so we're playing it at 3 immediately. But also you can pay 2,000 life to tribute from the extra deck once this turn for an Assault Mode Activate. So that means that if you put an Assault Mode Activate on field and it's live this turn, which we have a way to do, then you pay for Dual Evolution, you can tribute the Stardust from extra deck to summon the Stardust from deck to insulate the rest of your plays. And once you get there, you're in a very good position. It's just getting there that is the trouble. Again, 2 Assault Mode Activates, we go through 2 over the course of our normal combo, and it's not a hard garnet by any means, so we don't need to play the full playset. It is a brick, though. Unfortunate, we'll make it work. Then we've got 1 Assault Counter. This is actually, it's just a counter trap Omni Negate, just an incredible card, but you have to have an Assault Mode monster on board. The cool thing is it's not once per turn, so you could play more, but I don't want to put more bricks into an already really bricky deck. So we're just playing the 1 copy because you search it off of Assault Lich as part of the standard combo. That's it for the Assault Mode stuff. It's a 16 card package that comes with 9 1-card starters. You could play more. It's okay. It's fine in and of itself. but the fact that it cannot extend, it has no way to extend through disruption, necessitates, in my opinion, playing another engine with it that doesn't often require your normal summon. For that, we're playing the Centurions. If you don't know what the Centurion engine does, it's all about level 8 and 12 synchros and synchro summoning on the opponent's turn by using our monsters as trap cards to summon out on the opponent's turn. So Primera's our first one and kind of the poster child for the deck. I would argue the field spell's the most important card, but this is kind of the one that you see the most often and most people know. So Primera's a level 4 light spellcaster tuner that on summon lets you add any Centurion card from deck to hand, and if it is a continuous trap, all of your high level Centurions cannot be destroyed by card effects. That's very relevant for all of our guys out of the extra deck. But also, if it's a continuous trap during the main phase, you can summon it out. So you do that on the opponent's turn, and then you can synchro summon because of our field spell. Cool. We're playing 2 because, yes, this is a starter. It's another normal summon starter, and while you could get away with 1, the Centurion engine becomes rough if you're only playing these guys at 1. It becomes like they can be garnets if you draw them in multiples, but it's also just like awkward to play around having them in hand either way. I just play 2 so that we don't have to worry about it. Same with Trudea. It is a starter, but you don't want to use the normal summon on Trudea. You would rather use our special summons and do it as part of a combo. Trudea is a really cool card that, if it's a monster, lets you put it in the back row as a continuous trap alongside one of your other Centurion monsters. So that's normally how we're putting Primera in the back row. We go Trudea, summon it out, and then put itself and Primera in the back row, then Primera can summon, do full combo. This one also can special summon from the back row, and if it does, you can choose to make her level 8 until end of turn. That gives us access to our 8s and 12s, just by whether you choose to make her an 8 or leave her as a 4, which is pretty cool. Then we've got 1 Autry. This is not a starter. It's also still a card you don't want to see in your opening hand, and I see all the time, and you have to play weird about that. It's fine, you'll learn. But this is just a level 4 dragon tuner that can be treated as a non-tuner, and if you summon it, and you have an Emblema card and a Centurion card in your grave, both of which are kind of the same archetype, but it's one of those weird joint archetypes where there's 2 halves to it. If you have both in your grave, you can draw a card. And then, of course, if this is a continuous trap, you can special summon it. This one you just put as the end of your combo once you've got pieces in the grave so that you can just draw an extra card every single turn, and it makes the synchro summoning requirements easier because you can use it as a tuner or non-tuner. Then we've got the reason that we're actually playing the engine. That is Stand Up Centurion, our field spell. This is the field spell we want to end on. Like, we want to use Dual Evolution for combos and then end on Stand Up. Because this cannot be destroyed while you control a Centurion monster card, meaning if you have, for example, an Autry in the back row, this is indestructible because it is a monster card still, even if it's in the back row as a trap. Then, if this was activated this turn, you can send a card from hand to grave to place a Centurion monster in the back row. That makes this a starter that doesn't take your normal summon, because you place Trudea, Trudea summons out, Trudea goes back to the back row along with Primera, Primera summons out, does full combo without taking a normal summon. That's kind of the reason we're pairing it with the Assault mode here, is because this gets you to an 8 without your normal summon. But also, importantly, and the reason we want this on our end board, is if a monster is special summoned, you can then immediately quick synchro. So on the opponent's turn, you summon out one of your traps, your trap monsters, and then you can immediately synchro with it to disrupt the opponent or get an end board piece online. For example, you can even quick synchro into Stardust Dragon and then activate the Assault mode activate that you set last turn during your turn, to go into another Assault mode Stardust Dragon on the opponent's turn. There's like no restriction here. It doesn't have to be a Centurion card you're going into. You just have to use a Centurion card as part of the synchro summon. Then we've got 3 copies of Emblema Oath. This one allows you to place a Centurion monster in the back row, but that locks you into Centurions until you get that monster off of the field. More often you're using this to set a spell trap, which you're going to set stand up, making this 3 extra copies of stand up that has flexibility to do other things if you already have the field spell. That means that so far we're at 6 special summon starters / extenders, which helps out the assault mode stuff a lot. Then we've got engine requirements for the Centurions, not a whole lot here. We've got Wake Up Centurion, which if a monster card is in your spell trap zone, you can declare level 4 or 8 and special summon a token that is that level. So this you're normally summoning, or you're searching it off of Primera, then making a level 4 so that you can use the token plus the Primera to make a level 8 to keep doing stuff. So engine requirement, it's part of the Primera combo. But also pretty cool is you can banish this from grave, and it's not a one effect or the other per turn, you can do both, to send a Centurion card from deck to grave, and we've got a couple of reasons that you would do that, including one of our traps. Speaking of which, our first trap is Centurion True Awakening. This is yet another Omni-Negate counter trap that you can search as part of your combo, but the requirement is you have to send a monster card from your spell trap zone to use this. That's pretty simple to do in Centurion. So that, if you're tracking, that's 4 Omni-Negates that we can make as part of our end board. The 2 Stardust Dragon Assault modes, the Assault Counter, and the True Awakening. That'll stop basically every deck in its tracks. Like, our end board is nearly unbeatable if you can establish full board into the opponent. And then last up for the Centurion engine is Centurion Phalanx. This one lets you target a monster card, banish it, and summon it on the next standby phase. Notably, you can do your own cards, which allows you to re-trigger them, or you can do an opponent's card as disruption, and then you can banish this from grave. Unfortunately, this one is one effect or the other per turn, to special summon a Centurion Synchro. It just loses 1500 attack. The cool thing about this card, and we'll see it when we get to the extra deck, is the big level 12 Centurion Synchros trigger on special summon, not on synchro summon. That means that either of these effects lets you re-trigger their effect, which is pretty tight. You can also just send this. This is the card you're normally sending off of Wake Up Centurion, which gets you that graveyard value, but you don't mind opening it or searching it for the disruption as just a trap. We just have a lot of back row requirements in this deck, so you don't set this super often, because you can see we've got 5 traps. We're normally using 1 during our primary combo turn 1, but that's still 4 traps, and then you want to put at least 2 Centurions in the back row to go to the opponent's turn. Sometimes you gotta pick and choose, and Phalanx is normally the one you're just pitching instead of actually setting. Next up, we have a small package that's not related to the actual primary engines, and that's the Ascator Dawnwalker package. This is another 3 copies of a special summon starter, so it's just a good extra synchro package if you want more starters or more extenders, because you can discard a card, special summon this guy from your hand, and then special summon Ascator from deck. Unfortunately, the Fire Ant Ascator ends up being a Garnet because you can't summon it from hand for whatever reason, but this just lets you discard a card to put a 5 non-tuner and a 3 tuner on board. That makes you a level 8, which gets the whole thing going. Then we've got a lot of points. The Centurion engine, you can see, is relatively pointed. We've got 33 for Auxila out of the board, 15 for the playset of stand-ups, and then 6 for monsters. That still leaves us with quite a few points, so I'm playing the full playset of Fuelos, 2 Nibirus, a Ghost Bell, a Ghost Ogre, and 3 Dark Holes. The thing is, you really struggle to play into an established board in this deck, so my choices are to try and stop the opponent whole cloth. Basically, the idea is, if I drop a Fuelos, I hope the opponent just passes, because we do not extend into an established board very well. We need to go first in this deck, and so we're trying to take away the opponent's turn completely here. Then for the extra deck, we're playing one Silvera. You can Book of Eclipse the opponent's board off of the Assault Mode engine. I don't know that I've ever actually gotten to do that, but it is a threat. It's like it forces out interaction, and then hopefully you can go into Centurion from there. Crimson Blader is just so that we can make the Crimson Blader Assault Mode. Stardust Dragon, same thing. You can tribute it to stop an effect that would destroy one or more cards on the field, and then it comes back on end phase. Similar to the Assault Mode version, just worse in every way. Sometimes it comes up. We're playing two of those for two Assault Mode versions, and also we're playing like two of a lot of the stuff in the extra deck, all of the ones that matter the most, because your game plan here is pretty linear. We are almost always making 8s, and there are very specific 8s we want to make, and 12s, and there are very specific 12s we want to make. So you don't need a whole ton of variety in the extra deck here, so we are doubling up on a lot of stuff. Case in point, Nightwing Cleric. This is another new card for the Assault Mode Activate archetype, and it's an incredible card in and of itself. I just wish the rest of the package was better. Because this is just a generic 8 that on special summon lets you set an Assault Mode activate from hand, deck, or grave. That card can be activated this turn. The fact that it's hand, deck, or grave is so nice for this deck. And the fact that it can be activated this turn in conjunction with the field spell that allows you to tribute from extra deck means that you can set up a Stardust Dragon Assault Mode before your 5th summon, or normally you're summoning out the Stardust Dragon as your 5th summon, which protects you from Nibiru and other hand traps and stuff. That's really cool. And then it doesn't even stop there. You can also discard a card as an ignition effect to summon a monster from your deck that mentions Assault Mode Activate. That's normally how you're putting Assault Lich on the board. This card is custom. It's great. I love this card. I just wish that the rest of the archetype was a little better. Then as our other level 8 starter synchro, we've got Centurion Primera Primus. On summon, this adds an Emblema card, which the only one in the deck is Emblema Oath, so it just lets you turn a level 8 synchro into full Centurion combo. And then if you do this on the opponent's turn, you can also pop a card on each field, which is pretty cool, especially because we have some stuff that makes our stuff indestructible to our own effects, namely our bigger synchro monsters. So you can, like it becomes one-sided if you do that. And then, interestingly, this card cannot be destroyed by battle unless it was summoned from the extra deck. The reason it has that line of text is because if the opponent removes one of your Centurion cards and this is in grave, it summons itself back out, and then that line of text kicks in and it's indestructible by battle. So it kind of acts as a circuit breaker where you stop the opponent from just like killing you in a turn to try and buy yourself a turn. Pretty cool. It's also a tuner. This one doesn't have the text where it can be treated as a non-tuner, so it can make your synchros kind of awkward, but you can figure it out with Primera Primus. It's not too bad. We've got one level 9, which is Stellar Wind Wolfriah, just because you can make a 9, and this is a board wipe. It gains 300 attack each time a monster's effect is activated, up to 4,000 attack, so after 5 effects. And then once it hits that 4,000, you can shuffle both it and all of your opponent's monsters into the board. This is how you're outing, like, illusions, problematic cards like that, just a big board. It's a good card to have access to, and you can access it off of the Assault Mode stuff. Then we've got one Shenging. This card is indestructible, and you can banish your opponent's cards. I mean, it's really good. It's a 10. You can sometimes make a 10. It's not that often, but I've done it. 11, same thing. Jura's the best generic 11. It's another board wipe, only during your opponent's turn. You can destroy all of their monsters or all of their face-up back row, and it has a little bit of benefit where you gain life points whenever your opponent activates cards and effects. It's an 11. If we find ourselves in that situation, we can make it. Then we get to the bulk of the deck, which is the 12s. So Legacia is our first one. This one protects your low attack monsters from being destroyed by battle. Pretty cool. It's just like a nice side benefit. But on special summon, you can draw a card, then destroy your opponent's monster with the highest attack. Remember, that's on special summon, so that triggers even if you're summoning it off Phalanx, either of Phalanx's effects, which is really neat. And then during the end phase, you can place a Centurion from grave or hand in the back row so that you can use it for the opponent's turn. We're playing 2 because sometimes you want to make this on your turn and then on the opponent's turn for the destruction effect, and that just draws you 2 cards as well. It's pretty tight. We've got one Auxila at 33 points. I think it's worth playing even at that. It's an important enough piece. because this one protects all of your face-up cards in your back row from being destroyed by card effects. That means MST can't pop your monsters back there, they can't pop the field spell, just all sorts of good stuff that you have in this deck that gets protected by Auxila. And then on special summon you can add any Centurion card from deck to hand, and then on end phase you can place a monster in the back row from grave or banishment for this one instead of grave or hand. Grave or banishment is normally much more important. It's also just big. These guys are both really big. Legacia has 3,500 attack and Auxila's 3,000, 3,000. They're kind of a grindy engine in and of themselves because you're constantly putting your monsters in the back row to then use them again on the following turns. Then lastly, we've got one Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon. It's just the best generic 12 and lets us vary our disruption. It lets you place a monster from field or grave into the back row as a continuous spell. Note, you cannot do that for like a Centurion and then summon it, but you can do that for a Centurion and then send it for True Awakening, so there is some utility there, but the Centurions have to be traps, not spells, for you to summon them. But it's, it lets you put the opponent's monsters in the back row or your own so that you can send them off to Awakening. And then during the battle phase, you can pop both a monster and a continuous spell. Just lets you do disruption. It's a generic 12. It varies your disruption. It's cool. And with that, let's go see some combos. Alright, so for our first combo, this one's going to be with either Stand Up or Emblem of Oath, just any way to get to Stand Up, basically, without our normal summon. We're going to activate it, pitch our first discard to place Trudea. Trudea can jump forward, then jump backwards while putting Primera with her. Then Primera can jump forward and go get Wake Up, which gets us the 2 bodies needed, a level 4 off of Wake Up, to go into Nightwing Cleric. So then Nightwing Cleric can set the Assault mode, summon out Assault Sentinel, which turns into Psy Reflector, which can add Dual Evolution. Unfortunately, here we have to replace the stand-up. For now, we can search it again later, but that is an unfortunate side effect of starting with the Centurion engine and not with the Assault mode engine. But we activate the new field spell, go get Assault Lich, because we haven't normal summoned yet. Then we can activate our Stardust Dragon Assault mode so that we can insulate the rest of the combo. Normal summon the Lich, who can summon back the Assault Sentinel, and then synchro themselves off into the Primera Primus. That's going to search us an Emblema and the Assault counter. The Emblema can be used, we go into Wolf Riot, because what else are we going to do with a 1 and an 8? Then we're going to use the Emblema to go get Autry. Autry can jump forward and then draw us a card because we've used both the Centurion and the Emblema cards this turn. And then with Primera Primus turn into Auxila, who can go search another stand-up. Here we can actually do a few things. We could go get our third Omni Negate instead of getting the stand-up. It's not normally the third Omni Negate that gets someone. 2's normally fine. So I get Stand Up instead, so that we can use it on the opponent's turn. We can send the Phalanx, so we can use its graveyard effect. We can put Autry face up, and so this allows us to make one of our 12s, or an 8, I guess, if you want to make like Primera Primus on the opponent's turn. It's not the worst thing to do. But you can go into Legacia or Vengeance Dragon more normally on the opponent's turn for an extra disruption and an extra card draw or 2 if you're doing Legacia. Cool, cool. Combo 2 is with our better starting engine. This is going to be starting off with a normal summon from the Assault mode engine. So here it's Sentinel, but it doesn't really matter what you start with. We normal summon the Sentinel, then go get Assault Lich, bring back the Sentinel. That gets us an 8 while searching us our Assault counter. We're going to start with Nightwing Cleric here because we want to go through all of the Assault mode stuff so that we don't have to flip-flop between the field spells, because we always want to end on Stand-Up Centurion for our field spell. So, pitch another card. Unfortunately, we have to discard a bunch of cards here. Go get Psy Reflector, who searches our first field spell. We can activate that. Go get Assault Beast, and then activate its other effect to go summon the Stardust Dragon Assault mode. Pitch the Beast to get Assault mode activate, which turns on the Psy Reflector to summon back a guy, doesn't really matter which, make it level 7, so that with the Psi Reflector we can go into Centurion Primera Primus, who can add the Emblem of Oath, and we can use that to do the Centurion part of the combo. We go into Stand Up, pitch another card, that's 2 discards, but remember, we draw them back, it's not too bad. Go get Trudea gets Primera jumps forward, gets Wake Up. Then we can go into Auxila, search something. Here I get Phalanx, because we kind of aren't gonna have a ton of space in the back row. I don't know, like, you can get the Omni Negate. Again, it gives us 3 total if you do that. We go Wake Up, summon a 4, level 4 non-tuner to go with our level 8 tuner, so that we can make another level 12. Instead of Legacia here, I go into Vengeance Dragon. Again, our back row is going to be full one way or the other, so we might as well just do the Vengeance Dragon for an extra disruption. Set our back row, summon, or place the Primera from graveyard, and here we go. So remember, the Phalanx could have been our Omni Negate, but then we don't have the materials necessary to do a Synchro Summon into Legacia on their turn. That's why I go for the Phalanx here. But we still have Assault counter. We can actually, off of this one, if we wanted to, use our bodies to make a Crimson Blader, and then go Assault mode activate, tribute the Crimson Blader that we made like the hard way, and then summon out our other Crimson Blader. That's up to you, dependent on the game, because that is a floodgate if the opponent is going into high level stuff from the extra deck. It's good under specific circumstances. Otherwise, just make like a Legacia, you know. Read the room. Cool. And we're back with closing thoughts on our Centurion Assault Mode deck. So pros are, if we go first and we are uninterrupted, our end board is effectively unbreakable. Like, you just win on the spot. You've got 4 Omni Negates. No one can do anything through 4 Omni Negates on a layered board. You can summon monsters back. You've got follow-up. Just, like, all good stuff for going first. That's about it for where the praise ends. I wanted to give this deck another chance. I have it. It's cheap. I picked it up by osmosis. And so I figured I'd try my hand at making it better. And this is better than pure assault mode, for sure, but the problems persist. You still will just open Assault Lich, and that's just a brick that makes you play weird or just straight up stops your combo. You will open Stardust Dragon Assault mode, which is a hard garnet. There's just so much in this deck you don't want to see, and you will open Assault Sentinel and Psi Reflector. And if you do that, because neither of them has a method to special summon themselves from hand, one of them's just discard fodder, which we do discard a good bit, so it's not like tragic to have discard fodder, but I would rather have the option to special summon Assault Lich from hand. I said that like 5 times, but why doesn't this card do that? It's a frustrating engine to run. It's very frustrating, and while I like Synchro Combo, and I like big crazy combo decks in general, there's a limit to the number of bricks and garnets I'm gonna put up with, y'all, and this one crosses that line. And it sucks, because we've got the Centurions, and I love Centurion. There's very few. Compare these engines. Centurion has 4 bricks in the deck, in the form of 2 traps, the Wake Up, the Autry. Sometimes Wake Up is good to have in hand. It's a conditional extender. But we've got 4 bricks in the engine. Compare that to Assault Mode, which has Assault Beast, Lich, that's 2, both of the Stardust Dragon Assault modes, that's 4. Assault mode activate, that's 6. And then counter, that's 7. So we've got 4 for Centurion, one of which is a conditional extender, and 7 in the basically the same size Assault mode package, with one of those being a conditional extender, the Assault Beast. So it's just like, God, it's just rough, y'all. I can't recommend you play Assault mode. Even if you find a deck that extends better and has a better time going second, is it worth dealing with this crap? No, in my opinion. which sucks because it is a cheap engine that costs no Genesys points, that has some incredibly powerful cards. Assault Counter is great. Stardust Dragon Assault Mode is great if it's not in your hand. The Nightwing Cleric is custom. This card is amazing. The field spell's great. But you just have to play all of this garbage as engine requirements that just makes it feel bad. It just feels bad, y'all. So, I don't know. Just go play Centurion. It's more fun, it's more concise, it flows better. That's another thing with the assault mode stuff. It doesn't, I guess that fits with the whole nothing special summons from hand. It doesn't flow terribly well. So, I don't know. Go play Centurion, pair it with something more fun if you want to do a combo deck. Like, go play White Forest. White Forest feels good to play. And maybe just leave this one in bulk, y'all, or in Edison, I guess. But that'll do it for this one. I hope you liked it, and I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.